Are we doing it? Oh, we're live.
Doing it, okay.
Woo! Woo! That never gets old.
It
I
never
love
does.
it.
It
Guys,
never
welcome
does.
to another emergency podcast. Glenn Shelton,
He.
Christian Brindle. We have an important episode today. Breaking news in regards to CMS final rule. I know some of you are probably like, are we really still talking about this? We
Yes,
are.
we
We are, in
are.
fact, still talking about this. My beard has grown probably 2 inches since the last time we talked about CMS. That's how long this has been going on already. But first, a couple of things that I would like to discuss before we get into it. One is the $17 Lead Heroes promotion we have going on right now on our Medicare supplement, final expense, and turning 65 leads. We just sold out of our turning 65 leads. They are now gone for the time being. If you already placed an order, you have nothing to worry about. We will be fulfilling your order very, very soon. But for the time being, all T65 leads are sold out. So the $17 lead promo will be for the Medicare supplement leads and the final expense leads. That expires Monday at midnight. So you have just a few days left. Please take advantage of that if you need help getting in front of more prospects this summer. The second thing I wanted to talk about is a story that is near and dear to my heart regarding an attorney who had, I feel like I'm going to botch this. Do you want to take over here on? I want to talk about the CMS attorney story where we were talking about, we're in a bathroom.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was like, where are we going with this?
I bumbled that so bad.
I'm like, do you want me to take the wheel on this one?
Yeah. Take it away.
So, for those of you that were in attendance in Savannah, Georgia, at the 7-figure Medicare Summit this year, you heard about the massage story. So I'm not going to retell it.
Thank you.
Because it doesn't need to be broadcast on this national of an audience, a 300 person, audience, we're comfortable with that. Yeah. Well, I am. Glenn's not, but
I'm not. Yeah, that's Glenn's fine. Yeah.
But that's fine. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we went and got a massage when we were in Savannah at the Westin, and essentially what ended up happening was we're getting all changed for the massage. We're getting in our robes and towels and all this stuff. And we're just kind of like casually bantering, and CMS comes out of one of our mouths. Yeah. Don't even remember the context. And this guy next to us just randomly, it was like in a urinal or something, turns and he's like, wait, CMS? Like the Centers for Medicaid Services CMS? We're like, yeah. They're like, oh, you must be an agent. You must be here for the conference. Yeah. He's like, oh, no, I'm a lawyer. I sue them all the time or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said.
No, you nailed it. There were some expletives that got exchanged in there, but
they're
yes.
Like, fuck CMS. That's basically
what Oh, my gosh.
That wasn't me. Canceled. I was quoting
the
lawyer.
Was quoting a third party for the secret shoppers. CMS. Yeah, I do too. Near and dear to my heart. I Christmas every year, I get a nice gift for CMS, express ship that thing, But yes, that was very funny. He also talked about how slow they were. I think if I remember correctly, he was saying that like compared to any other like lawsuits he gets involved in, it's just like takes extra months essentially to get anything done. So the reason I wanted to bring up that story was because it feeds right into the emergency podcast episode today.
It sure does. And it's an emergency.
Injunction Junction, what's your function? Christian, what's going on?
I can't with that title. I can't do it.
Injunction Junction, what's your function? What is going on with CMS final rule right now, Christian? Man, we're 5 minutes in. Let's get to the meat of this.
So last week, I'm like looking at the date, making sure that I'm getting like the timeline right in my mind. I'm like,
what?
So last week, right? Last week was 4th of July, as many of you know. I am on my way driving to our Airbnb for our mini trip that we went on for the 4th of July weekend. And I start getting texts from multiple people. And one person even called me about basically something that transpired in one of the CMS lawsuits that was transpiring in Texas. Okay. So what I was told was by again, multiple people, not just one person, was that there was an injunction filed in one of these lawsuits against CMS. Now, technically speaking, it was really a stop. There is a slight difference in the legal terminology and the definitions of that. But essentially, what it's transpiring to mean is the court has basically determined that there is reason to put essentially a halt on a lot of the details of the recently passed CMS final rule until the case can essentially progress further, right? And I've talked to a couple people within the industry that are in the know, and there is a lot of thought process that this very well could turn into a situation where this stretches into next year. So even if the final rule was to go into effect as we assumed it would, it might not be for this selling season. It might not be for this AEP. It might be next year entirely. Again, speculation. There are certain people that watch our streams that say, all they do is speculate. I think that's all anybody's doing at this point, because you're not the judge, you know, unless you're the judge making the decision, how do you know anything other than speculation? So
and today's guest, let's welcome the judge of the CMS trial. We've got them on the live stream today. No, I'm just kidding. That would be great.
That would be epic.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, there's a lot of optimism that this upcoming AEP could potentially end up being business as usual. And actually, a carrier, I posted it in the group today, sent out in communication to all agents that basically said they're reenacting a multitude of things that had gone away until otherwise communicated to, that they shouldn't be doing this. Marketing money was one of them. There's no details on that. It just basically said select groups will still be able to get marketing money. I believe they said HRAs were going to be coming back, a couple of other things like that. And so we may see other carriers follow suit with that, essentially saying, okay, we're just going to do business as usual, run it back until this is resolved in the court. So huge news for anybody that was concerned about final rule. And I mean, I don't want to get political with you guys, but there's an election coming up. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Who's running?
If this
hang on a second. I looked up, I wanted to say this. I looked up the difference between, I think it's a stay, I guess, not a stop. Right?
Oh, sorry.
It's a stay. So I looked this up while Christian was talking. What is the difference between an injunction and a stay? And from what I'm reading here, it sounds like an injunction is a judgment or a court order that prohibits a person or entity from doing something. Whereas a stay is more like something's pending, again, like CMS rule coming into fruition, like being activated, just puts like a pause on it. So it's almost semantics, really. It's very, very similar. But politically, what you think the play is, they're trying to get to the other side of the new administration because that might play in favor?
It could be, right? Like it could be kicking the can down the road until maybe post-election. I don't want to go too deep into the politics with you guys, because even when I joke about it, you guys lose your minds. It's true. Some of you, most of you not, but some of you just absolutely go ape shit. It's wild. Sell some more policies. Like, you have too much time on your hands. But I'm just saying,
no, it's great. Yeah, I agree.
But there's a lot of signs that are pointing to, if things go kind of as they're transpiring, we'll have a new administration, which means a new CMS commissioner. And with a new CMS commissioner, a lot of this could just be like, yeah, this is dumb. This is not a good use of CMS's resources in court. We don't believe in a lot of these passings anyway. We're just going to lift it. That could happen.
True.
So it'll be very interesting to see. But the biggest news to me is there is a chance, there's a lot of that will probably happen over the next 30 to 60 days that will kind of dictate a lot of this. But there's a chance that this upcoming AEP is business as usual, at the very least. Maybe. We'll see.
Say it again.
Business
Say it again.
as usual.
BAU, baby. BAU. That's the breaking news. If I really had the breaking news here to read to you guys, it's that AEP 2025, which is what we're coming into, looks like it very well could be business as usual. What does that mean? It means that the potential of the FCC ruling, which goes into effect in February, late January, early February, that wouldn't apply to this AEP. Again, like Christian said, a lot of these rules are probably coming no matter what, but the stay prevents it from actually happening, right? Mm-hmm. So that plus everything regarding the marketing money and the commissions being paid to the agents, if you're an actual writing agent getting an override, like all of these things, right? All of these things could still be in effect going into January of next year. And, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that government needs to be checked. And is that not, again, I don't want to get like too crazy political here, but I do feel like we all should agree that, the founders built checks and balances into this thing, right? Like our founding fathers wanted the government to be self-regulating, right? Where that you can literally have this checks and balance system if there's any overreaching. And if there's not overreaching, we should still do the check anyways, right? Mm-hmm. Even if this CMS final rule is super clean and it's a good thing and we're doing it, that's fine, but it should still be checked no matter what. That's my opinion. So if we're getting extra time to have this reviewed in the court system, I'm all for it. Now, here's the next question. I want to jump into this. So, Christian, you did a video on your TikTok. Shameless plug for Christian Brindle's TikTok, you guys. Look for it. Find it.
I'm going to be a TikTok star someday. And then it will be banned probably immediately once I get there.
I got to 1 million followers. Banned. Just like the next hit. You're like, yes. No. So Christian did a really great video on his TikTok talking about a completely separate court case that just went through at the Supreme Court that could have huge implications potentially for CMS and any other future, Medicare related ruling that could happen. So this is the Chevron rule being redacted or taken back. Why don't you give a little quick synopsis on that, Christian? I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and it very closely relates to this CMS case because, from what I've heard, it sounds like that the Chevron rule is being quoted and applied in the CMS lawsuit, and it could have a big reason as to why the stay was put into motion, in that case with the final rule. But so essentially what this Chevron case is, without boring you guys too much with the details, a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with us, but all you really need to know is Chevron is involved in a case that essentially is between them and one of the government bodies that's gone all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, what does that have to do with insurance? Well, it has nothing to do with insurance on the surface, but one thing that was passed by the Supreme Court as a part of this lawsuit was essentially undoing a law that had been in effect since 1984 that gave federal agencies the power to interpret law when law is unclear. So essentially, like if there's not if there's confusion about a certain rule or a certain law, these federal agencies essentially had the ability since 1984. Guys, we're talking about 40 years. To be judge,
EPA, the
jury.
IRS,
Yes.
the FBI, all the NSA.
Yes.
You want to talk about
Yeah.
some of these government agencies that
Yeah.
have probably gotten pretty liberal with how they've decided they want to define the rules.
Yes.
And again, essentially unchecked.
Yes.
Right.
And CMS, of course, is part of one of those larger government bodies, right? So that this
Yes.
applies to them. But for 40 years, they were judge, jury, and executioner when there was any type of gray area or confusion or clarity needed on any rules or laws or anything like that, which to me is wild. I posted this on TikTok. It got a lot of traction, got a lot of people fighting with each other in my comments. I love it. If you guys would like to fight with someone on the internet, please do it on my post. It helps. But people arguing back and forth, like, why is this a good thing? The government agencies are there for a reason. They're the experts.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. And other people being like, government agencies are evil, deep state, blah, 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 blah. All I know is so essentially what this means, right, is for laws and clarity to be actually defined and passed, they actually have to go through Congress, is what this new ruling states. What does that mean? For something to go through Congress, can it still not be passed? Sure, it could still be passed, but it's going to take much longer. It's going to be probably kicked back and forth between the bureaucrats and everything like that. It's a much slower, lengthier, more complex process. It's not as simple as CMS being like, hey, we're the new CMS leadership. We're going to pass a yearly final rule. And as soon as we pass this one, we're going to start working on the next one for next year. And
TPMO is everybody, and TPMO has crazy rules like that. Yeah, all of that.
We're going to let's make them record their phone calls. The average insurance agent is 59 and a half years old, and they're not tech savvy at all. That'll be fun. That'll be hilarious. Actually, let's make them.
Oh my gosh!
If I was running CMS, that's probably like that's the only reason that I would pass some of these rules. I'd be like, let's fuck with them. Every year, like it'll be like a holiday. It'll be like Christmas again,
once a year,
and let's see them freak out and sue us and everything.
But here's where I get a little lost on the Chevron ruling, though, is no matter whether we're talking about the new way that laws will come into effect versus the old way, as an individual, as a legal entity, whether it's you as an individual or your business, if you had an issue with the rule, with the law, you had to sue them in court, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the same? Isn't that the same on both ends of this? Like Chevron rule, no Chevron rule. If I'm pissed about the law and I feel like I'm being stepped on and that this isn't right, I still have to sue them in the court of law, right?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. But I think where it's a win for agents and for you and I and everybody that's probably watching this is CMS's laws and rules their final rules that they pass are absurd, and like, I think everybody can be on the same page. They have no sense. They're contradicting,
super vaguely written, could be interpreted 10 different ways.
Right. So the fact that it gets taken out of their hands, to where like there actually has to be an actual process for something like this to be changed or passed.
Okay, let me ask you another question. If another final rule were to come out next year, Congress would have to pass it.
That is my understanding. Yes. It couldn't be just like right now for CMS to pass a final rule. They just have to say, feeling cute today, might post final rule, might delete later. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to answer to anyone. Like they just can do it. They have complete power. God answers to them in this department. And sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm trying to get the point across that like
No, that makes sense.
they don't need any permission. They're just able to do what they want. And now with this ruling, my understanding is if they want to pass a final rule, they have to send it up to Congress, and Congress has to pick it apart and approve it, which is much easier said than done.
Sounds more democratic to me personally. If you
Yeah.
support democracy, it seems like that would be something you would want, right? You'd want extra eyeballs on these laws before a government body, FCC. I mean, there's so many of them too. It's crazy. I'm sitting here thinking about it. We've got NASA, we've got the FCC, like I'm sure there's an acronym for the transportation system here in the United States, the FAA, right? Airplanes, airlines.
The Education Bureau.
Yes. Like they're almost like these mini monopolies, essentially, right? Like they have full control over these little segments. And individually, if you look at it, it might not be too concerning, but I think collectively, it's kind of insane that they've had this much power for this long. And it's definitely gotten worse, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I would 100% agree, right? Yeah. Like, and so I definitely think it's a win. I think the biggest thing to me, in my argument to anybody that would push back against it being a good thing, is these are unelected individuals that are making these rules, right? Like you use the word democratic, and I think that's a perfect word for it. The whole purpose of a democratic society is we have elected people that make these rules. So for better or for worse, we elected these people.
Correct.
For these agencies to have all this power and be able to do that means that a lot of what's going on in our country is at the mercy or at the pleasure, if you will, of unelected officials. Like I didn't vote for the CMS commissioner.
I didn't vote for anyone at the who voted at the FCC, who created the new FCC rules. Didn't get to vote on that.
Yeah, like we have no say in the matter as citizens. As citizens.
Citizens arrest. We're arresting CMS at the end of this. You're going to jail.
But no, like I'm very enthusiastic about it. I just think it's going to be a good thing, and I think at the pace we were going, right? This is our third straight final rule in 3 years. That's wild to me.
They start doing 2 a year. They're like, we think we can do every 6 months, guys. Yeah. We want to pump these out. I'm going to look something up right now that I'm interested in is how long does it take the average stay to get resolved? Because I have no idea what the average is, but
6 years.
That's fantastic. We'll just file a stay on everything every time.
Yes. I've sold the company by then.
Ordered stay. I'm sure it's probably relatively subjective to the case. Average case. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I'm seeing all sorts of numbers thrown around. 2 to 6 months, right? I mean, that's a big difference, right? 2 months.
Yes.
2 months. This gets resolved, 12th hour right before AEP starts. 6 months puts us post OEP, and it's business as usual through Q1 of 2025. So I'm sure it's super subjective to the case, the judge. I mean, it's such a back and forth game too. And maybe some of these really big entities are playing just the stall game. I don't know. Maybe they're just buying time because they know that some of these rules are going into effect and they just want more time to get ready for them. I don't know. I'm all here for it though. I'm also here to bring you guys good news, because most of you have completely lost your shit since the very first final rule dropped, especially this year's final rule. The comments have been insane, you guys. The people saying like, "Oh, my FMO shut down the next day after the final." Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
and I was like, "What?" I'm like, no, they didn't.
And the person that posted that works for an FMO. Like
Yeah.
I would have fired him the next day if
Yeah.
he worked for me and posted something like that.
Yeah. I was like, what? I'm like, what are you saying? I'm like, no one read this, and then 24 hours later closed the doors.
Close their doors.
It's like, they're like, oh, it's over.
That's it. We're done. Closing our doors.
So the doomers, the gloomers, all of you guys out there who, for whatever reason, seems like you love to feed off that energy. You want bad news. You want negativity. You want to hate. I'm sorry. Today, Christian and I are bringing you some good news. What it appears will be happening because of this court-ordered stay, because of potentially the Chevron rule being revoked, there is a possibility that final rule changes. There's a possibility that final rule doesn't go into effect anytime soon at all. And I would say, if I had to put gambling odds on this, I would say there's probably an 80% chance, in my opinion, that we get to go through this AEP and the current rules are on hold. So it's just business as usual. That's my guess. I'm curious to know, Christian, percentage-wise, odds-wise, if you had to put a number on it, based on what you know, how likely do you think it is that we get to go through this entire AEP? There is no final rule this year because it's on hold.
Yeah, I think.
Speculate, brother.
For me, if I'm speculating,
yes, yes.
I would probably say it's 50-50. I'd give it a coin flip.
Okay. Man, I hope I'm right and you're wrong.
I do too. I would love to be wrong and for you to be right on this one. I would love nothing more on that.
Same.
Again, this is just speculation.
It is speculation.
I mean, I've been accused of many things, but a speculator is it's got to be the most hurtful one.
Stop speculating.
Stop.
Call me a speculator.
It's just speculating. Oh, shut up. Be quiet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that being said, anything else regarding final rule, Chevron rules, CMS, or this AEP that you think we should be discussing right now? I guess, okay, here's another question.
We could talk about Walmart again.
Oh my gosh. I did see a question about Walmart. I did see it. What is the latest with Walmart? Let's get into it.
So I had one conversation about it about a week ago, a couple weeks ago or so. And what I've been told, don't know a whole lot, is there hasn't been a lot of communication about it. My understanding is Humana still has the rights to the stores like last year. So any stores that will be available to non-Humana owned entities,
well worded. Look at you.
Will probably be, just leftover stores, basically just like the small percentages that they don't actually need or utilize. I've also heard whispers that there could be a lot of stores that are available to non-Humana entity organizations where you're sharing a store with a Humana agent, where like they're there at the same time as you.
Sounds horrible.
Or maybe like they're there half the time, you're there the other half of the time, that kind of thing. I think we made our opinion pretty clear last year on Walmart. Like, I've talked to a lot of, I've seen a lot of people comment specifically being like, I've done well with Walmart. I grew my business with Walmart. Now is the time. Last year was really the time, but now is the best time because last year's over, to pivot and find other ways to grow your business because the program is not going to be here long term, in my opinion.
I would totally agree with that. And if I'm going to continue with my speculator hat on today, I've heard through the rumor mill that Walmart is looking at getting in because they just shut down. They had the Walmart clinics and those all got shut down, which led to a lot of people being like, oh, weird. Why are they shutting this down? Like we thought they were aggressively growing it. What I'm hearing through the rumor mill is that they are shutting down because they're looking at acquiring a company that specializes in this so they don't actually have to run the entire operation internally. So
Yeah.
I don't think the point of me bringing that up is I don't think Walmart's going to be around in that way for much longer.
And
I think they'll have their own thing going, you
an,
know.
an additional thing to that, right? Like, is let's say it goes for another 3 years, right? Let's say it goes longer than we're thinking it's going to go. Eventually, this thing's going to end. Do you really want your business to be built on the back of something that can be taken away from you and you have no power over?
No.
Like that
No.
that's what agents need to ask themselves, right? Like, you are building your book of business on the back of something to where at any point in time, any given year, they could snatch your butt out of your store, put someone else in there, and then all your clients that you've trained to go to that store, they go and there's some other person there, and like they're probably going to be like, "Oh, little Billy? Yeah, I know little Billy. He's gone. He's out of business. Sign here, agent of record later, baby." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a good way to grow your business long term, in my opinion. And
what
you have no control.
isn't that so interesting though? Like last year, especially, rather than spend the time, effort, energy of how am I going to no longer market using Walmart, instead, the collective response was just rage at Walmart. And I said this last year when we got into it, and I would say it again right now is, why are you guys so worried about Walmart anyways? Like Walmart on my marketing list is probably at the bottom anyways. So why are we like rage fighting about who gets what Walmart store win? Like Walmart sucks. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
That
Quick little
clip.
dunk on Walmart. Hang
That
on.
clip.
Hang on. Windmill. We're just gonna absolutely dunk on Walmart. Walmart sucks. If you're worried about Walmart, you suck, I guess. I don't know.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay.
Cut that. That went really far. That went really far. I 100% think that I 100% think
we're getting canceled today, guys. Today's the day. I can feel it.
I 100% think you're better off finding other ways to grow. Like the best business model to me is one where you have all the control over the lead flow, over where your clients come from, where they associate with you, and that's it. So like, this yearly guessing game on Walmart, be like, are they going to do it this year? Are they going to charge us $5,000 this year for a table? Like, I would get out of that business of Walmart tables,
It's just gross every time I hear those words. I'm at a Walmart table. Like, I'm sorry if you're offended by that, but I just think you're selling yourself short. You're building your business on someone else's business. It's just not the great way. I get, and again, my perspective, you guys, is my phone blows up the first 2 weeks of AEP from all of those Walmart agents. That's why I feel the way that I do. I feel like I have to defend myself now. With the pitchforks are out. You guys call me and tell me that Walmart sucks. I'm hearing it from you guys when your production sucks during AEP. So figure out a better way to market yourself and don't worry about it. Don't worry don't worry about Walmart.
I love it. This might be the first time ever that you get canceled instead of me. This might be the first time ever.
Your Walmart trash.
This just did. We will be putting Glenn Shelton in a Walmart. This AEP. We got an overflow of Walmart.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We should run that back though. We did a really great live last year talking about all the ways to market yourself besides Walmart.
That was, I think, a great stream. It got so much attention.
Yeah. And I think we should run that back this year. I think sometime soon we should do kind of a part 2 or an update, a 2025 version, 10 ways you can market yourself. That's not, I think we did like 16 or something crazy. We're like, we're only doing 10. And then we like gave you guys 16 different ways. Yeah. It's like, again, Walmart, if this is the list, Walmart is at the bottom, you guys, like very bottom of the list. So we came up with like 16, I think, last year. I'm sure we can run it back and give you guys another 10 or 20. So stay tuned. We'll have that coming out soon for sure.
Another thing that has been an incredibly unrelated sensation, if you will, the last day or two, is the idea of us putting together a platform that basically lists FMOs that don't release people and uplines that don't release people. I had a dream about it last night.
And go high level accounts that don't release people as well. Can we add them to the, can we add them? Yeah, why not?
We could call it noreleases.com.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Noreleases.com. What a resource, what an asset that would be.
I think, yeah. I think everyone should know. Everyone should know. Like, I'm checking to see if that domain's available right now. No releases.
We'll pay whatever it takes.
Whatever. I don't care how much it is.
50,000, give it. Noreleases.com.
No releases.
Probably taken. Like, I posted that as an idea on a comment of, an agent that's just having a hell of a time getting released for no good reason, from his upline, just because they're petty white. And I
just bought it.
How
no
much?
Releases.
How much?
No releases.com is now officially ours.
Yes.
It's happening. Yes. It's happening. It's happening.
No releases.com. When we're done streaming, I'm going to post in the group and I'm just going to say #noreleases.com, and that's
no releases.com. Yes. No releases.com. It's going to be a shame board. It's going to be a virtual shame board of people who are keeping agents from being successful in the industry by not releasing them. I couldn't be more excited for this.
If I ever end up on this website, I'm going to be really pissed, because we release everybody that asks, even though there's not that many that ask. We always do
transparency.
Total transparency. The only reason why we wouldn't is, like, let's say we gave you 100 leads and then the next week you're like, I'm going to need to go. We'd be like, the fuck, there are extenuating circumstances. Like sometimes the FMO has their side of it too. But oftentimes what it really is, more often than not, is there's someone in between the agent and the FMO. Yeah. And the person in between is directing the FMO on what to do. Be like, fuck this person, don't release them. That's exactly what happens. And the FMO will do whatever that middle person wants them to do. That is industry standard. And that's also good business. The FMO should do that, right? They shouldn't release without everybody's consent.
It's the direct upline has the final say, in my opinion, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the same as if, like, let's say there's an agency that works with us and they have agents of their own, and one of the agents wanted to leave. They came to us for release. We'd go to that agency that they're under and we'd be like, what would you like us to do? Because that's industry standard. If they're direct to us, it's up to us. We're just going to say, yeah, go ahead. We'll let you go. Yeah. But yeah, noreleases.com, you guys. This could become quite the thing. Noreleases.com.
We'll see where this goes, but an industry, I think we've seen a change in the industry over the past 10 years where releasing an agent is the standard. Christian and I are looking at taking that to the next level. We want full transparency. So not only are we going to offer full releases to anyone, again, unless there's extenuating circumstances, unless there's some sort of like special agreement or some sort of monetary value that we're owed, and so we can't release that agent until we get what we deserve. Other than that, everybody gets a release the second they ask for it. And Christian has publicly done this many times. So it's not like you don't need to take our word for it. You can search in the group. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets a release if they want to release. And we're going to increase that standard by doing it with the technology accounts as well. With our CRM system, 7-figure CRM, we did a demo yesterday some of you may have already been on there and seen that. Shout out to Nathan, our tech guy. I thought he absolutely crushed it going through Go High Level. But what we've discovered in our journey as CRM account owners, it's easy to release a sub account on your Go High Level system. It's really easy, and everything can get transferred really easily. But just like insurance contracts, the upline has to approve it before your sub account can get transferred. So that's going to be part of the new standard, is your information, your technology, like all of that, your clients, all of that, that gets to go with you. Again, that's part of our release policy, and we feel like that should be everyone's release policy. But yeah, and I think, not that I'm necessarily like lobbying for more public executions like we used to do, but maybe we should. If they're not, if you're not releasing an agent who should be released, you deserve to be on blast. That's my opinion personally.
Yep, I would agree. Wow, we covered a lot on this stream.
That was amazing. Walmart, CMS final rule, the Injunction
Junction.
I was going to try to say it. Yeah, I was going to try to say it. Releases. That was amazing.
Any final thoughts on this one, Mr. Shelton?
My final thoughts, you guys. So, obviously, again, we're speculating. We don't know exactly how this is going to play out going into AEP. I would have multiple plans in place. I would have an A plan, a B plan, maybe a C plan, D plan. Be ready for all of it. Be ready for final rule to go through next month. Be ready for final rule to completely get obliterated by the court system. All of it. Because we don't know. We're just speculating. We're just trying to give you the information that we're hearing, that we're reading, and we're trying to help you guys potentially get ahead of it. But be ready, have multiple plans. That's my final thoughts, you guys. Christian, final thoughts.
We will provide you guys with updates on this developing court case situation as we get them, as we hear more from carriers. If we hear more from carriers, there are certain carriers that haven't said a word still ever since this passed publicly. So just pay attention to that. But again, for those of you that are sitting around waiting to make plans for AEP based on wanting to know what's going on, make plans based on the way things are right now. And then if something changes, scramble to pivot, but you need to make your plans right now, would be what I would tell you. It's just too unbelievable to just sit around and wait for some kind of guidance, some kind of, communication that might not ever come. We might be on October 1st and you're still waiting. So prepare for this season. It's going to be an absolutely chaotic one. Inflation Reduction Act, it's in full-fledged to victimize Medicare beneficiaries this season.
Yeah.
And they need our help. They
do. More than ever.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. This was fun. We will bring you another stream next time there's an emergency. And
stay tuned.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Later.